Now, supporters of the Turkish opposition have defied a ban of protests. It was issued after the arrest of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's main political rival, the popular mayor of Istanbul, Ekrem Imamoglu.
Turkish authorities have detained the mayor of Istanbul just days before he was due to be selected as a presidential candidate. Ekrem Imamoglu, from the secular Republican People's Party, CHP, is seen as one of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's strongest political rivals.
Right, we are seeing some small protests now in Istanbul outside the office and at a university here. Those university protests have already been broken up by the police. I should say that the protests now are very small. The authorities are doing everything they can to make sure that people do not gather on the streets here. They've closed many major roads into the city. They have closed down popular metro stops. They have restricted the use of social media for some popular apps. And they have also banned any rallies or protests here for the next 4 days. Whether we see larger numbers coming out onto the streets despite all of those risks, we'll just have to see. In the past, we have seen people gathering on their balconies or gathering at their windows and banging pots and pans in protest. We might see that later on this evening. But at the moment, this is a city braced now to see whether these protests get any larger.
And Emily, just remind us why Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey, why he feels so threatened by the mayor of Istanbul.
The mayor of Istanbul is incredibly charismatic and he's incredibly popular. In many polls, it shows that Erdogan is pretty much neck and neck with Ekrem Imamoglu. He was due to have a big rally today in support for his presidential candidacy, which is due to be announced in the coming days. The opposition were going to name him as their future presidential candidate. And I should say that critics here are saying that this crackdown could backfire on Erdogan, because in 2019, when Ekrem Imamoglu won the mayor elections here, Erdogan's government said that those elections were rigged and they called for a rerun. In that rerun,
Prosecutors accused him of corruption and aiding a terrorist group, calling him a criminal organization leader suspect. Police detained 100 people, including other politicians, journalists, and businessmen, as part of the investigation, and the Istanbul governor's office has imposed 4 days of restrictions in the city. Imamoglu said online, "The will of the people cannot be silenced." In a social media video, he said he filmed while police were outside his home. He vowed to stand resolute for the people of Turkey and all who uphold democracy and justice worldwide. And in a handwritten note posted on his X account after his arrest, he said the people of Turkey would respond to the lies, the conspiracies, and the traps against him. Protests have erupted on Turkey's streets and university campuses and in underground stations, with crowds chanting anti-government slogans. It is a display of public anger not seen in years. There were reports of clashes between protesters and police in Turkey's largest city. Reuters news agency footage shows police using pepper spray pellets to disperse crowds outside Istanbul University. The government has banned public gatherings in Istanbul as part of the 4 days of restrictions. But more protests are anticipated nationwide as opposition leaders, including Imamoglu's wife, urge people to raise their voices. Many streets in Istanbul have also been closed to traffic, while some metro lines have also canceled their services. UK-based internet watchdog NetBlocks said on Wednesday Turkey had severely restricted access to social media sites like X, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. A coup against our next president. The arrest comes as part of a major crackdown nationwide in recent months, targeting opposition politicians, municipalities, journalists, and figures in the entertainment industry. Following the Istanbul mayor's arrest, concerns over Turkey's shift toward autocracy were expressed on social media, with some calling for an opposition boycott of the upcoming presidential elections, arguing that a fair and democratic vote is no longer possible. Imamoglu's party, the CHP, even condemned the arrests as a coup against our next president, a sentiment widely echoed by pro-opposition voices. But Turkey's justice minister criticized those who linked Erdogan to the arrests. Yilmaz Tunç said it was extremely dangerous and wrong to suggest this was a political move, insisting that nobody was above the law in Turkey. Erdogan and his party have also denied the claims, insisting that Turkey's judiciary is independent. He has been in power for 22 years.